Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks for joining me today. I am here with my second project for the month using the subscription paper club pads from the Not Too Shabby shop. There are two beautiful pads in the club this month, Beautiful Wings and Blooms of Spring. If you didn't catch the first video I did, it is over on the Not Too Shabby shop's YouTube channel. I will go ahead and leave a link below. In that video, I used dies, and I'm going to go ahead and use dies as well. Going through my supplies recently, I've been seeing a lot of stuff that I don't use all the time, and my cover dies is one of those things that I don't seem to reach for. And so I thought I would go ahead and use my cover dies to create some cards using pattern paper. This is really fun, a great way to use your dies to give some different effects. So I'm going to grab this daisy sheet out of the first paper pack, and I'm using a die from the stamp market. And I don't know if you remember when the stamp market first came out, they were available on scrapbook.com, and that's where I got that die, and it's been a few years, so I don't know if that die is available. I don't know if the other die is available either, but for the second die, I chose to use this rainbow paper pad with the butterflies on it. It gives a really nice effect with this die. This one, the pink one, is from Dress My Craft, and again, I don't know if it's available. I will definitely leave links below if I can find them. But really, if you just go through your die stash and see what you have, I mean, they don't even have to be cover dies. Cover dies work really well because it's not a lot of cutting, just one cut and you're done. And I really love that the effect that the dies create using the paper pad. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my paper, run that through my Big Shot machine. And I originally put this on, after I took it out of my die cut machine, I went ahead and put it on some press and seal because I thought I might want to do two cards, one using the negative space, and then I just decided not to. And so, although this is a beautiful die, it doesn't have any outside borders, as you can see, and so it is a little wispy or flimsy almost if you're not using a heavy cardstock with it. And so I went ahead to strengthen that up. I went ahead and I cut out the die again with some white cardstock, and those two pieces will be adhered together to add a little bit of strength as well as a little bit of dimension on the card. And I did go ahead and use my liquid adhesive for this. Normally, with something like this, I might use Artist Tack, which is basically little micro dots. It's really easy to apply it, and I'll use that on my second card. But because of the fact that it is a little bit movable, I guess the pieces move a little bit, I didn't want to risk damaging it, and so I did end up just using liquid adhesive to adhere those pieces together. And then for the background, I'm using this Honeybee Stamps 3D embossing folder called a Kaleidoscope. So I'll go ahead and I spritz that with a little bit of water just to ensure that it didn't crack when going through my machine, and then that's going to be the background. And so I'll again add some more liquid adhesive, and once I have that piece placed onto that background where I want it, I will go ahead and use a stamp block because the embossing folder creates that texture. I did want to make sure that it adhered really well, and so I set a stamp block on top of it to make sure that happened. And then with the kind of remaining pieces of paper, there are a bunch of little daisies that I was able to use, and so I just went ahead and I fussy cut a couple of those daisies out, and that's going to be adhered to the card as well. And then for the sentiment for this card, I believe I used Honeybee Stamps Inside Kindness. I believe that's what it's called. And I just went ahead and took a white piece of paper and gold heat embossed on that. And then I added a little bit of gold splatter using my favorite metallic watercolors. I think these are called CSY watercolors, or handmade watercolors. I don't know if they're available any longer, but they're my favorites. And then I went ahead and added some foam to the sentiment and struggled to get it straight. So I went ahead and added that, and that will finish off the first card. And I also wanted to mention that I am using this paper pad in the Kinder's Card Challenge. If you're not familiar with that, I will leave information below, but it's basically where you take, I believe, 6x6 sheets of paper and create 15 cards. And so I am using this. So if you need more ideas for this paper pad or just in general for card layouts, I will have a video out with the remaining cards that I'm making for that. And I do have a video already on my channel with the rollout at the beginning of the month. So the next paper that I used was the rainbow with the butterflies, and I am using this Dress My Craft die. And so I went ahead and I cut the pattern paper out, and then I decided to use this black cardstock, and this die, this black cardstock is a little bit thicker, and so this worked out perfectly because it did not release the little pieces very easily, and so that worked to my advantage because I did want all of the floral pieces to stay black. And what I'm doing now is I'm just removing all of the little spaces in between the flowers. And so usually when I have a die like this that's got a lot going on with it, I will run it through my die cut machine at least 2 times, if not 3, just depending on how well it cuts and if I'm using any extra help to get that to cut. But I ran this through only once, so to make sure that all of those little flower pieces did not come out, because it looks stunning against the pattern paper. The black really sets off all of that color on the pattern paper. I just love the way it looks. So, but to get all those other little pieces out, I just took my craft knife and helped them along a little bit. It wasn't too hard. They were already a little slightly loose. I just needed to give them a little extra help. And for this card, I'm using Artist Tack, which is basically sheets of micro glue dots, small glue dots, and you just put your paper inside of the, or against the sticky side, and then burnish against the other side. And it's really great for like lots of gluing like this, or intricate dies, or anything like really small that's kind of harder to glue, or with a lot of detail that is tedious to glue. The Artist Tack is a lifesaver. So I went ahead and I used that. And I'm just going to line my pattern paper up with that black background. And the height of this die is 5.5, but the width, for whatever reason, is slightly bigger than a 4 1/4. I did still use a 4 1/4 white card panel, but when I put this on a card base, I'm going to have to make it slightly bigger to make sure it fits the entire card on it. So I would say it's probably about 1/4 inch bigger than the card panel, but it worked out still. I was able to get that on and you can't see any space. And then I added a little bit of silver twine and have added this sentiment with some foam and liquid adhesive as well. And that's going to finish off this card as well as my video for today. I hope you enjoyed. This was super fun to make. If you did like this video or find it informative, I would love a thumbs up. As always, I thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I hope to see you next time.